don't you join over right here.
Are you in the middle?
Right here.
Hey, good to see you.
Madison, great to see you.
Well, I can confidently say I'm the only person here with the most comfortable chair beating these two, so.
Look, you're not wearing my heels, Madison. I don't want to hear it. Okay, well, let's get...
But my shoes never get dirty, so it's great.
Well, it's so great to have you both here. I was just obviously with Rebecca, who we just love, and she's running for governor of Wisconsin. And I know you had that role. And so what do you...
So I've heard, right?
You were one of the best, definitely one of the best governors there. Demi, walk us through not only what you're seeing in Wisconsin, but just generally. You're traveling across the country. You're meeting with so many young, dynamic people. Is this next generation going to save us?
Yes, we are training the next generation of freedom fighters, and we're excited about it. And, you know, you heard on the earlier panels, not only with Rebecca, but with others, first off, the thing we learned in Virginia last year is don't piss off parents.
Yes.
Because one of the few good things out of the pandemic is parents could see what was happening in the classroom. But I think the same thing's true with young people. Young people on college campuses are saying, hey, not only have we been dealing with this liberal indoctrination, with these left-wing professors, with this woke atmosphere out there, but they're sick and tired of their campuses being closed, of not getting the education they were promised, of having vaccine mandates, and of the vast hypocrisy that they see not only on college campuses, but across the country. And we've been saying for years at YAF that campuses are the canary in the coal mine. You can see how woke they've gotten there and how much that's translated into K through 12 education, into culture, and even into communications. It's got to stop. Young people are ready to fight back.
You're one of our young people, one of our young leaders, and you haven't aged like Scott and I have. But can I ask you, Madison, what are you seeing as well? As you do also travel across the country, you meet with such a diverse group of patriots. What's their message? What are they asking you? What are they worried about?
Well, I'll tell you, I believe people in my generation, people, especially ones who lean conservative, one, I believe until really this last election cycle, they kind of felt like they were alone, that there were no real conservatives out there. But since we went through the pandemic, people have really started realizing, oh, there's a lot more of us than the mainstream media would have us believe. And the thing I have found from young patriots across this country is that they're tired of being categorized in the Republican Party as being the party of no, as being the party that just is against things but doesn't actually have any ideas of how to successfully fix things. And you're starting to see people in the conservative movement now coming out with policy objectives saying, hey, the ideology of this wokeism, the ideology of trying to sell America out to the highest bidder across the sea is no longer going to work. I mean, people in my generation, they want to be able to work and to prosper in peace. I mean, they want to be able to raise a family. They don't want to have to be an eternal renter because of insane student loan debt. Many people in my generation are starting to find that if you're getting a humanities degree now, it's completely pointless, which is sad. I mean, just 20 years ago at any of the Ivy Leagues, the humanities was the core of that.
Right.
It led to some great things, but then you started seeing this wokeism come out on campus, and I think, like many people in this room, we all just said, oh, that's so silly. Can you believe these college students? But where did that lead us? It led us to AOC. It led us to having the squad in Washington, D.C. And young conservatives across this country are now saying, we're not going to be categorized as being these radical leftists because we no longer believe in this ideology that killed 100 million people in the last century. We're now going to come out and go on offense instead of just playing defense.
So, Scott, social media has such a huge influence in this next generation. I mean, it pretty much defines them when you're talking about a selfie or going on TikTok, and a lot of it is mindless. So what is the concern there? And I guess how can conservatives utilize it in their favor, as we know there's a lot of canceling going on in the meantime?
Well, big tech is just like big business, big labor, big government. We're on the side, conservatives are on the side of the little guy, the hardworking men and women of our country, and certainly small business owners. But one of the encouraging signs is we've done all sorts of research. Again, at yf.org, you can see the things we're working on, but it's all sorts of research with young people. And what's really encouraging is you hear Twitter all the time in media, and yeah, we're on there, other groups are on there. You know what the #1 way Generation Z gets their information? YouTube. And why that's important, granted there are disadvantages and challenges there as well, but we saw our YouTube subscribers during the pandemic more than double.
Interesting.
And it's content driven. So we have someone like Ben Shapiro, we just added a new speaker, Kellyanne Conway, we have all these, Matt's been on some of our things as well. We see these speakers, and where the YouTube content is so great is young people watch not just the lecture on campus, they watch the Q&A. They want to hear, as you were talking about, the crazy questions from that radical teaching assistant or others out there, because they want to hear, how do I respond to it in the classroom, with my friends, on social media? And the good news is they're gravitating towards content. So as conservatives, as you said, Congressman, we got to talk about big ideas. We got to be on the side of young people and entrepreneurs and people want to start up their own businesses. They're hungry for it. And they know, more than anything, young people believe in fairness. And when you point out that it's not fair, when we exposed a college professor at Iowa State University who actually said, if you're against abortion, against traditional, or against same-sex marriage, and if you're against BLM, the organization, you're out of my class, we exposed that. And thankfully, at least in Iowa, the university system said, no, that's not free speech. Young people get free speech, they get the woke culture, they don't want to be a part of it, they don't see it as fair. That's where conservatives have a real shot.
And Governor, just to add on top of that, the social media aspect is actually being weaponized against our country. You know, we all heard when TikTok came out from China, it's like, oh, we thought it was this information gathering apparatus they wanted to create, but it's actually much more diabolical than that. If you look at the algorithms, what they're encouraging young people in America to do to be able to go viral and to get a lot of views on their TikToks and these videos, it's to learn some silly dance or to do something that's completely mindless and meaningless. But if you look at the algorithms in China, what they're encouraging their young children to do, the things that make them go viral, is building something incredible through STEM or through engineering, or being able to go out and speak incredibly fluently and well, or having great patriotic and masculine values. And these are the things they encourage for their youth, yet they're trying to subvert our entire culture.
Yeah, it's like dumbing down of America is the whole thing. Madison, I do want to really quick, talking about canceling, obviously they're trying to cancel you from even...
Are they really?
Yeah.
Does the left not like
let's
me?
talk.
I have no idea.
Go tell our crew here what's going on and what you're doing.
Yes, indeed. So make no mistake, there's a gentleman named Mark Elias, a terrible human being.
Boo! Okay, that's like a huge boo.
And
okay?
I'll tell you the reason why. He was really the quarterback of all the shenanigans that happened in 2020 in our election. And he participates in something that we've coined as lawfare. And it's using the judicial system against their political enemies. And so because of what happened on January 6th, you know, they started trying to say, and I just thought they were trying to get a catchy tagline for their headlines. They started throwing around seditionists and insurrectionists and these words from the mainstream media. Well, now we see that it was all a completely coordinated effort to set the standard to say, well, because he participated in an insurrection, the 14th Amendment bars him from being able to be in office. And make no mistake, I don't know why they chose me first. Perhaps it's because I tell Nancy Pelosi she's not God every single day. But you hear this group from Western North Carolina. They love it. It's great. But I'll tell you, if they are successful in being able to keep me off the ballot, it will set a precedent that anyone who had questions or some concerns about the 2020 election and what happened there, they maybe expressed it on Facebook or on Twitter, then they will be able to bar every single one of those people from ever being able to hold office in America and destroy the America First mission. And so I'm telling you, one, this is a spiritual battle, I genuinely believe. And so please be praying for this. Pray for the judges involved, the lawyers involved. But the American people need to be awake to what's going on. When these people say, oh, well, you're a threat to democracy and you need to go out and vote like democracy depends on it. Well, I want to say back to them, why don't you start governing like the country depends on it?
Right.
Why don't we actually start doing something for the American people instead of using our government and our institutions to attack hardworking, good-hearted Americans across this country? I think all of us in this room are sick and tired of it, and it's time we stand up and fight.
And the left has a well-funded, coordinated effort to stop any effective Republican or conservative. That is their goal, and they're going to try to do it through election as well. Scott, I want to get your reaction to what we're seeing in Russia and Ukraine right now, obviously the Russian aggression, and why Americans need to be concerned about this.
Well, it ties in actually with just, Congressman, what you were talking about. Woke weakness leads to things like we're seeing in the White House and what we're seeing around the world. Ronald Reagan talked about peace through strength. When you're weak, you get in the war, not when you're strong. And this president, sadly, is leading us towards a scenario where the world might very well end up in war again. And it goes all the way back to what he did in Afghanistan and what a debacle that was. He's allowed not only tyrants there, but in Iran and elsewhere around the world. We don't get in the war when we're strong. We get in the war when we're weak. And that's a lesson we need to learn, and why history is so important. You know, this president, unfortunately, seems to be more like Neville Chamberlain than just Jimmy Carter, and that's something we should all be afraid of.
Madison, the Daily Beast came out with an article basically saying, like, don't blame Biden for Russia, Ukraine. Should we believe that?
My friends, I want our president to be loved by the American people. I genuinely do, whenever we elect our president. But what I really, truly want in a president is for the rest of the world to be terrified of them. We are the most powerful nation that has ever existed on this planet, and we need to be able to exert that. But we also need to realize that the days of endless wars and sending our sons and daughters to die across the sea for other nations, that those need to be gone. We need to be able to use economic sanctions to be able to stop. I mean, really, this all could have been stopped by being able to stop the Nord Stream 2 pipeline from being constructed.
Yes.
It would have been so simple. But my friends, think about this. Joe Biden, we've all heard of the shenanigans that happened with Burisma. We all everything that went on with Ukraine. I just don't understand when we import 595,000 barrels of oil from Russia every single year. Yet, if we were to have the Keystone Pipeline, we would create 850,000 barrels of oil. My friends, this president has been corrupted by the radicals across this country, by Putin, by Xi Jinping. And my friends, we're starting to see the consequences of that. You see why Xi Jinping and Putin both wanted Biden to be president, because now Taiwan is unfortunately getting an unprecedented preview of what's going to happen, and it's very sad.
You talked about Taiwan. The New York Times reported a story about Chinese intelligence, basically the Biden administration sharing information with the Chinese, sharing intelligence with the Chinese officials. Chinese officials handed that over to Moscow officials.
Yeah.
Your reaction?
Well, in America, there should be no greater friend and no worse enemy. And unfortunately, we're seeing it reversed under this administration. And Peter Schweitzer is going to talk to our student lunch here at CPAC in just about an hour. His book, Red Handed, talks exactly about the problems you see, not with just Joe Biden, with his entire family. These are the facts that young people, when they come to our conferences, say, we never heard this. And I don't blame young people for being liberal. I blame the rest of us for not doing enough to get the word out early in life, not just in college, and tell them the truth. They're hungry for the truth.
Final thoughts as we've run out of time, Madison.
Well, you know, I genuinely believe that the world is a safer place when America is strong. When the greatest generation defeated evil in World War II, we had 70 years of no real power in the world trying to gain more territory. Until Joe Biden took over, until for the last 6 decades, the Republican Party has been on defense, not taking ground every single day, but just capitulating to the left inch by inch by inch, to where our country is so weak that our enemies feel emboldened. This is why I've come out with a new contract with America that will reestablish America as the dominant force on the planet. If you guys want to look into that, you can go to newcontractwithamerica.org. This one's a little different than the others. And instead of trying to convince 218 members of Congress to sign on to it, I want to convince 30 or 60 million Americans to start getting involved, because it is time for the people to be in command of this country, not the people in Washington, D.C.
Last word.
Most important thing you can do for America right now is pray. Pray for our young people, pray for our military, pray for our leaders, even those we disagree with. Pray that God might open their eyes to doing what's right and just, to respect and protect the republic that we love.
You both are great. I mean, round of applause for Governor Scott Walker, Congressman Madison Cawthorn. And that's it. Our talk show is over. You've all been a great audience. Thank you all.
Good job.